Hello and welcome to another Turtleton's tutorials. Today we're going to be looking at Minecraft pistons and their use in automatically harvesting sugarcane. So, sugarcane must be placed on top of a dirt tile. It must be adjacent to water. Here in this example you'll see we have a piston powered by some redstone dust onto a pressure plate. Now when I stand on this, as you'll see, all the sugarcane is expelled forward for the most part, and is required me to replace it for it to grow again. Now, one of the interesting properties with sugarcane is if you just leave the bottom section intact, it will eventually regrow, even after you have destroyed the top two sections. So, abusing this fact, we have here a single elevated piston. As you can see, the redstone wiring has been adjusted slightly, which, when standing on the pressure plate, will dispel both sections of the sugarcane and leave the lower one intact. Now, a slight downside to this is, as you can see, is that sometimes the sugarcane is not actually presented forward. Sometimes it drops into the water, sometimes it goes behind the circuitry. So this is a bit of a problem if you want to do anything automatically. In this example, we have a second piston placed above the first with some slightly adjusted redstone circuitry to counteract for this. Now, standing on the pressure plate this time will always disperse the sugarcane forward. That means it won't go in the water, it means it won't go behind your circuitry. It's always going to be in the right direction. Now, seeing this in a more realistic example, this is a mock representation of what you might find in your base or a cave somewhere, or wherever you might be establishing your section of farming. Now, here you can see we have 2 rows of pistons, all going along, so that's 8 pistons deep, and we have the sugarcane in front of that. Above this, I'll just show you the wiring quickly, we have the repeaters acting as diodes, allowing you to place the pistons side by side, and a load of redstone dust rooted up here on top of the white wool. Now, the water here serves 2 purposes. One is to provide a source of water to actually allow you to place the sugarcane in the first place, and the second is to transport the dispelled crop to you once it's been ejected by the pistons. So now when I stand on the pressure plate, the pistons all disperse and all the sugarcane comes to me. So one downside of this is that until you stand off the pressure plate, the piston will remain extended. And unfortunately, sometimes about 1 in 16 of these will get stuck. A small price to pay. Now, if we're clever, we can use a bit of redstone circuitry to allow the piston to fully be automatic. As you can see here on the right, the piston is periodically pulsing, and breaking this down, we have on top of the yellow wool, we have a clock generator. The setup is very simple. On top of the blue wool, we have essentially just a pulse generator. Every time this receives a signal from the clock, it will generate a short, sharp pulse and then terminate itself, creating this pulsing action here. Now, we can increase the delay between pulses by adding many more redstone repeaters, as seen here. If we just go up to the top of this circuit here, we can see this is very similar to our previous circuit. We have a bank of redstone repeaters. And the final result is that periodically the pistons will pulse. And shortly after that they'll pull themselves back in, and it will allow the crop sometime to actually grow. As you can see there, it'll be pushed forward. Now, another slight modification I've made here is below the water is ice, something which is quite hard to obtain in a legitimate game, but the results speak for themselves. It makes it incredibly fast to actually dispense the crop back to you. The main advantage of this is you can actually leave your system idle. You can go make yourself a cup of tea, and you will have collected a whole set of sugarcane in that time. As you can see, sugarcane is not the fastest of crops to grow, but when they do, you can rest assured that you'll have collected them. One side note is that the top row of pistons is effectively made redundant because the crop's never really going to have the opportunity to grow to its full height in between pulses, so it can be ignored and removed entirely from the system. This has been Turtleton's Tutorials. Thank you for watching.